In the graphic novel American-Born Chinese by Jin Yang, Jin undergoes emotional, psychological, and physical changes. Emotionally, Jin feels a great shame and desire to assimilate into American culture. Psychologically, Jin rejects his Chinese heritage to fit into American-dominated society, leading to physical changes as he transforms into Danny, a white American desperate for popularity. Readers gather that Jin's changes symbolize the struggles of immigrants who don't fit into society's standards, and the challenges they face when they try to balance their cultural identity while having a desire for acceptance. They represent the impact of internalized racism and the pressure of needing to conform to society's expectations, with key motives such as identity and self-acceptance. The novel highlights just how far one will go and how desperate they are to escape discrimination and to just fit in. Jin Yang represents these changes through many visual and written techniques. I will now delve into these techniques. Jin is often seen wearing casual clothes, which can be seen throughout all the American characters. However, when we look at Wei Chen, he is often seen wearing more traditional clothing, which is an example of how Jin is trying to assimilate into American culture. This contrast visually represents Jin's desire to erase his Chinese identity, to blend in with his American peers, even though he may not even prefer that style of clothing. The contrast in colors also show as Jin is dimming his light, as he is denying who he is, whilst Wei Chen, who has accepted his identity, is seen with a very bright colored clothing. This relates to the psychological change of Jin, as he is trying to be more American by wearing stereotypical American clothes. Throughout the novel, we can see Jin become more tense as he distances himself from his own heritage. When we see Timmy and one of his friends passing Jin, Susie, and Wei Chen, they start imitating the stereotypical Chinese accent, such as saying they chink, it's getting a little nippy out here. Knowing that the group of friends can clearly hear them, we can visibly see how Jin immediately slouches down with a miserable expression on his face, which the author uses to visually symbolize the emotional weight of racism and self-rejection. Readers gain a deep understanding of Jin's internal conflict, the state of discomfort he is in emotionally. Another example of this is when Jin shouts out to Amelia. We can see the jolt of confidence striking him, but when he sees Greg's, it seems as though all his confidence is absorbed by Greg, specifically Greg's hair. Greg's hair heavily symbolizes Jin's ideal identity, as Jin wants to appear more American to his crush, Amelia. Greg is a painful reminder of what Jin is not, someone who is well-known and fits into society. Jin wants to be that symbol as well, signifying Jin's insecurity and social anxiety, showing just how much popularity means to him. This moment shows that Jin defines his own self-worth by showing how he is socially accepted by others. It illustrates themes of identity and the pressure to conform. Both examples show Jin emotionally changing throughout the novel, as we can see how his desperation for acceptance is impacting his emotions. One of the physical changes Jin goes through is that transformation into Danny, who symbolizes the idealized American identity Jin desires, a white, popular American boy who doesn't face any racial challenges. However, this alter ego is confronted by Chinky, who embodies the exaggerated stereotypes of Chinese culture that Jin tries to avoid. This transformation into Jin's alter ego doesn't bring happiness. He is denying his authentic self. Although Danny appears to be accepted on the outside, his constant discomfort around Chinky reveals internal conflict. Let's move on to the written techniques. Jin begins using more American slang when talking about or to the other Chinese characters, such as calling Wei Chen an FOB, trying to make himself more American. This is important to Jin's character development as it shows his attempt to fit into American culture. By calling Wei Chen an FOB after Jin insults him by declaring that he's not good enough for Susie, Jin is distancing himself from his heritage, and the code switching highlights the tension between Jin's Chinese roots. It also shows just how insecure Jin is, as instead of just apologizing to Wei Chen, he insults him, which shows just how far Jin will go to separate himself from his heritage and his cultural identity. This is an example of psychological change Jin is going through, as he believes that speaking like his American peers will make him more accepted in society. This scene is also an example of cognitive dissonance, as Jin is experiencing internal conflict between his Chinese identity and his desire to be accepted as an American. By calling Wei Chen an FOB, someone who's gone through the similar experiences as Jin and his best friend, Jin is rejecting his own cultural background. It is using stereotypes against Wei Chen that have been used against Jin himself, such as when Greg told Jin not to go out with Amelia anymore. Greg tells Jin he is not right for Amelia, as she needs to be mindful of who she is associated with, which means that Amelia being associated with a Chinese person is not good. This fuels Jin's desire to fit into white American culture, which makes him look down on the people who are a part of his heritage. This psychological change and example of cognitive dissonance show how Jin is rejecting his own ethnicity, even though he is still a part of it. In the second chapter of the novel, it begins with Jin's memories of childhood, playing with his transformer and speaking to the herbalist. This hints at his later desire to transform it to become someone else to fit in. The transformer is a symbol of abnormality, as it doesn't necessarily fit in with society. However, the fact that the toy becomes a truck, something that is accepted by society, is an example of foreshadowing, as in the future, when Jin transforms into Danny, a popular white American, one could see that Danny fits in much more with society's expectations than how Jin would. The transformer is a symbol of one's identity, in general, and represents Jin's desire to be anyone but himself. Another example of foreshadowing is when the herbalist wife warns that it is easy to become anything you wish so long as you are willing to forfeit your soul, which represents the moral and personal cost of denying who you truly are. In conclusion, Jinlu and Yang developed Jin to convey many important concepts regarding identity, self-acceptance, and belonging. The character helps the author communicate these big ideas, as readers are forced to consider how stereotypes and society's expectations can result in self-rejection, which can be seen in Jin's metamorphosis. Yang uses visual and written techniques to show how people can suffer from feeling different from the rest of the community. The author demonstrates this as when Jin finally accepts his cultural identity, it results in a genuine friendship with Wei Chen. Overall, Jinlu and Yang develops Jin's character to reveal that motives such as belonging and self-acceptance don't just come from changing who you are, rather from embracing your identity.